So we're going to be going over just the basic, maybe a little more in depth on compliance. So first and foremost, you have to be licensed and certified. Pretty straightforward. Some people don't understand that, believe it or not, kind of crazy. But you must hold a valid health insurance license in every single state that you want to sell or do business in. If it is a FFM state, the federal marketplace, you need to do your annual CMS training. If you've never heard of that, ask Office at Benavest, they'll help you out. If you are in state-based marketplaces, you will need to do each state's certification and their training requirements. So the CMS FFM certification is for all the FFM states. If you have additional state-based marketplaces, you'll have to do each one of their trainings if you want to write on exchange plans. Ethical sales practices do not discriminate. There's no discrimination based on race, gender, age, or health status. That is an overall insurance compliance. Explain, no misrepresentation. Clearly explain plan coverage, limitations, and premiums. Prioritize. You need to prioritize consumer needs, not your commissions and plan recommendations. That's a big one we see is one carrier might pay a little better commission. So an agent tries to scope or tries to push that individual toward that particular plan. That's not right. You need to prioritize your consumers' needs, have their best interests in mind, and then respect, not door-to-door solicitation, respect the CMS and consumer consent regulations. So be sure that you're up to date on everything that you are allowed and not allowed to do. Privacy and data security. As an agent and broker, it is your responsibility to comply with HIPAA and federal privacy laws. You need to securely store and protect all personal health information, and you can only collect the necessary data for enrollment purposes. So there are specific things you do not need and you cannot ask for, just the things that will be asked on an application. Enrollment consent and requirements. Key consents and disclosures, whether these are recorded on a recorded phone line, whether these are a DocuSign or an electronic signature, or whether these are paper wet signature. You need consent for a marketplace search. You need consent to assist with the application as the agent of record. You need to provide instructions for withdrawing consent, so how they are able to withdraw consent if they choose to do so. You need to give a clear disclosure of your role as an agent and any financial incentives you have. You have to read the required tax attestation. You need to get their verbal consent to sign and submit. And then you need a review eligibility notice with the client. Again, whether this is a recorded line, whether this is an electronic signature or a wet signature, and then necessary commission disclosure from agent to client. We will jump in on that last one a little bit later. A lot of agents are not familiar with that one. So enrollment and application assistance, client assistance responsibilities. So you are allowed to assist clients with eligibility screenings, obviously making sure they are eligible and qualified for coverage. You're able to help process applications through the EDE platform or state-based marketplace agent portal. EDE platform, you're thinking like a health Sherpa. Guide clients on premium tax credits and cost share reduction eligibility to help them understand what these are and what they do. You can provide help in person or virtually. Again, if you're doing things virtually, you need to protect yourself. Record all interactions, store those. Ensure client involvement in the application process. Too many times we see agents making decisions for clients. You need to remember it is your strict obligation to make sure that client is involved in the application process to some degree. So make sure they understand what they're doing. They need to be the one ultimately making the decisions. You're just their guide. So you're bridging the gap of the maybe confusion but make sure that client is involved in the actual application and in the selection of a health plan. Inform clients that the phone enrollments are recorded. Some states need two-way consent for that, so you need to ask permission if you can record the call, and they need to accept. That is not every state. Some states you only need to make it known that the call is being recorded. Make that your responsibility to understand which states have the two-way consent. And then always confirm that clients are not enrolled in a full Medicaid plan, Medicare plan, employer-based plan, or a VA plan. That goes along the lines of screening their eligibility. So note, you cannot make eligibility decisions or complete applications without client participation. That is a huge red flag on CMS's end if you are doing these things for the client. So please know that you need to help that client and make sure they are involved. Health insurance plans only represent ACA compliant plans on the exchange or approved off exchange plans if appropriate. So if you are doing ACA, make sure you are presenting ACA compliant plans. Ask the client about any doctors they currently see or prescriptions they take to ensure their health plan covers their needs. You could maybe argue with this one that the client should be the one ensuring that the insurance company takes their provider, but it's always good to ask the clients what doctors, prescriptions, and then go from there. You'll know what to do best, but bring it up, protect yourself. Marketing compliance. All marketing materials must be CMS approved and truthful. You can find more information on what is considered CMS approved by going to the website. Avoid misleading language or pressure tactics.